Hey, this is Ari, and in this video, I want to share a little clip from a podcast I did with Dr. David Jockers on the benefits of fasting and intermittent fasting.
The reality is that fasting offers so many more benefits than just fat burning, although fat burning is an important thing. One thing it does, it helps reduce your insulin load, right? And so if we're constantly eating, every time we eat, even if we're eating, a stick of butter, we're going to produce some level of insulin. Some foods are more insulogenic than others, meaning we produce more insulin when we eat them than other foods. And insulin is a superhero hormone. It takes sugar out of the bloodstream, puts it into the cells. If we have high blood sugar, we get advanced glycation end products. These things, are like shrapnel going through our bloodstream, destroy our kidneys, our liver, our nerves, right? All kinds of stuff like that. So insulin's an amazing hormone. We need a good amount of insulin. We need to be able to produce it, but we only want to produce it, we want to produce the right amount and not too often throughout the day, right? That's really the key. And so when we are constantly eating, like every few hours, we're constantly stoking insulin. And when we do that, we get a higher amount of insulin load throughout the day. There's only so much insulin we're going to be able to produce, in a certain period of time. Like if we eat a whole bunch of calories in 1 hour, we're only going to be able to produce a certain amount of insulin in that 1 hour. However, if we're eating, the same amount of calories that we would eat in that 1 hour, but in three meals, every 3 hours, we're actually going to produce roughly somewhere around 20% more insulin when we do that. And so our overall insulin load goes up. And the more that we're stoking insulin, or we have insulin up, insulin's telling the body store fat, right? It stops the breakdown of fat, stops lipolysis. So that's one thing. Insulin can also trigger inflammatory gene pathways, right? So we also get an upregulation of inflammation when insulin goes over a certain threshold. So for one person, they may be very insulin sensitive, and it may be very hard for them to get over that certain threshold. But for another person eating the same foods, they're going to shoot up over that threshold a lot faster, and they're going to get more inflammation in their system. So fasting, by keeping insulin down, by lowering insulin, really reduces overall inflammation, turns on fat burning. And then when insulin's low, we also get this mechanism of autophagy. And autophagy is really where our body breaks down old damaged cellular organelles. So, for example, within the cell, one of the most important structures is the mitochondria. That's where we produce all the energy in the cell. And so these mitochondria are very susceptible to oxidative damage, just the process of metabolism. We could eat a great diet, take really good care of ourselves. They're still going to rust from the inside. So we need to repair them. And so when insulin is up, it turns off, or basically it tells our body we're not in a place, we're not in an environment to repair these mitochondria. When insulin comes down, now we can start to repair the mitochondria. So we go in, we start breaking down the mitochondria, take those raw materials, utilize them to form new, healthier, stronger, more stress resilient mitochondria. And so that's extremely important because that makes our body more resilient to stress, more efficient. Those mitochondria are better at burning fat. When the mitochondria oxidize and they rust and they become inefficient, they become really bad at burning fat. And they can even get to the point where they can only burn glucose, or basically our cell can only burn glucose because the mitochondria are so damaged. And now we get really bad fatty acid oxidation. So we become less, and I know your listeners know that when we burn fat for fuel, we produce a lot more energy. And fat is a cleaner fuel. We produce less oxidative stress and free radicals when we burn fat for fuel than when we burn sugar. So if we're stuck in sugar burning mode, then we're going to produce a lot more oxidative stress, a lot more free radicals. We're going to damage these mitochondria, all the different intracellular organelles. We're going to damage them a lot faster when we're stuck in chronic sugar burning mode as opposed to fat burning mode.
Hey, this is Ari. I hope you enjoyed this little clip. And if you want to listen to the full length podcast, the link for that is down in the description below. Also, one more thing before you go, I want to mention, in case you don't already know about it, our formula, Energenesis. This is an amazing product that has multiple compounds in it that are scientifically proven in numerous studies to increase your energy levels, not just by 3% or 5% or 10%, but by 30 or 40 or 50% in a very, very short time frame. So one of these compounds that I'll mention here is called NT factor phospholipid. And it is an extract of phospholipids that comes from lecithin. And they extract the pure phospholipids from this, things like phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylethanolamine, and many others. And these are the same fatty acid compounds, phospholipid compounds, that compose our cell membranes and mitochondrial membranes. And this specific patented formula has been shown actually to enter into the bloodstream undigested, basically without being broken down and denatured through the digestive process in the stomach and the intestines. It makes it into the bloodstream and actually makes it all the way to our cells and to our mitochondria, where it helps repair damaged mitochondrial membranes and facilitates our mitochondria functioning better. Now, all of that sounds like wonderful theory, and it sounds like it could be beneficial, but the real test is, has it actually been studied and been proven to increase your energy levels? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There are numerous studies outlined in a wonderful paper by a scientist named Garth Nicholson, in a paper called Lipid Replacement Therapy. I highly recommend checking this out if you're interested in digging into the research. But this compound has been studied in the context of multiple different kinds of chronic fatigue. Aging-related chronic fatigue, obesity-related chronic fatigue, obscure things like Gulf War illness, and numerous studies in chronic fatigue syndrome. And there are studies showing that this has the capability. They've taken one study, in fact, actually showed that in elderly adults over the age of 65, it restored their mitochondrial health, which had deteriorated heavily. It restored it to the level of healthy 29-year-olds, believe it or not. And they've actually measured energy levels in these people. And all of these studies across the board show improvements in energy of at least 25%, and typically more like 35 to 45% in just the span of between 4 to 12 weeks. That's how long all of these studies are, 4 to 12 weeks. They're showing dramatic, huge improvements in energy levels by helping to repair these mitochondrial membranes through this thing called lipid replacement therapy, using, again, this patented form of a phospholipid extract called NT factor. This is just one of about 20 ingredients proven to benefit mitochondrial health that you'll find in my formula, Energenesis. So I strongly encourage you, if you are struggling with your energy levels, if you're dealing with chronic fatigue, go grab yourself a bottle or 3 of this, or subscribe and save. Try it out. You are going to be blown away by the results. We get so many testimonials. We get so many emails from people talking about how this one thing has transformed their lives. So I cannot encourage you strongly enough to give this a shot. And let's say you buy 3 bottles, try out the first one, give it a month. And if you don't notice significant improvements, you can return the unopened bottles to us for a full refund. So give it a shot. I really think you're going to be blown away by the results. The formula is called Energenesis, and you can get it at theenergyblueprint.com or click the link below. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again very soon.